Alright guys, welcome back to the Regal Gentleman YouTube channel, the Regal Gentleman Studio. Today we've got George in the chair. How are you, mate? You good? Yeah. Nice, man. So, what we do? What's the plan?
Well, I want to keep a lot of the curl pattern.
Okay.
I like how curly it's got over the last year or so.
Yeah.
Like new to me, and then
okay.
Because it didn't really have that curly hair before. But I want to kind of even up the shape, especially around I think the sides.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a bit like too long around.
Yeah, you can see the unevenness a little bit actually. Yeah. So what was your previous haircut like before this?
Before this?
Yeah.
I had like sides shaved down to like a number 4.
Okay.
And then the top was just like this long.
Okay, yeah, wow. Just like a standard short back and side, yeah, wow. Goodness me, you've done well to go this. So this has been a year, would you say?
It's been over a year, yeah.
Do you know, I've got to say, the most remarkable thing I've noticed since lockdown, it's hard for you to vouch this because it's just your hair, but from all the haircuts that we've done, everyone's hair grows at such a different pace. We've had guys who come in who've, grown their hair for like 18 months. It's not even as long as yours. And they've had it, probably like a month shorter if you're looking at it that way. Like they've had like a 2 back in sides, for example, or 1 back in sides. So you've done well to get this length in, mate. I mean, what was the secret? Did you just leave it?
I didn't, I've just not done anything.
You've not done nothing to it, no?
Once or twice, my friend did do a homemade, I know that's not a very good thing to do, but
mate needs must sometimes, right?
Yeah, like it was lockdown, and we did it,
yeah.
But we did it with clippers, which meant, that was the other thing I was going to say, is that the ends look quite rough and spindly, I think, because we cut the ends with clippers.
Okay, yeah, well.
Scissors, I don't know.
There is, under a microscope, you can kind of see that. Really, I don't know. I mean, obviously with a blade, it's different. Obviously, it will be smoother. I think the thing is, you probably notice it more because it is with clippers and it's curly. I think that's why you probably notice it. On mine, you probably wouldn't notice a difference, but with yours, because it does get drier, then like curly hair does become quite dry. You probably notice it a lot more, to be fair. But that's fine. I mean, look, you've got enough length in it that we can balance it all out. Are you liking this kind of like longer, top-heavy shape, the way it kind of sits out, or do you want it to be a bit more full, a bit more round, or what would you prefer?
I think a bit fuller would be better.
Yeah.
Yeah, a bit more like, obviously, I don't know if this is right, but I feel like maybe some of the weight causes this top to like flatten out a bit, and if there was possibility for more curl around the top, that would be maybe
definitely better. Yeah, definitely. It's just all the length. That's what it is. It's gravity pulling all that weight down. You're pulling all that length down is what creates this kind of flat pattern. So it almost creates that angle, like a triangle almost, So all we need to do there is just cut it in a way that you've got a bit of a short element through the top. And then once you take away some of these dead ends as well, because it is quite uneven. The more you run your hands through it, the more you can see it's quite uneven, especially like down the bottom. If you look, like there's a big difference between certain part, like that bit there to the bottom bit. Yeah. That could be neckline, that could also be from the home cuts. We don't know yet, but we'll see. But yeah, I think the best thing to do is just cut some shape into it, balance it out a lot more, take it off, not make it look as though, like if I just turn to camera, just see the way it looks as though it's just like layer, and then like a long layer, like a short layer and then a long layer. I think obviously if we balance that out a bit more, it's not always necessarily taking the neck up. I think it is taking the neck up, but I think it's taking some length at the top as well to create a more fuller shape. And I think that'll be better, because that'll be like a proper haircut for you, to be honest, George. This is like obviously just grown out and had a couple of DIY jobs, but I think if you're liking the curl, let's cut it into a proper shape for you. Yeah. Cool, man. All right, let's get you up and get you started then. Right guys, so I'm going to start off with the horseshoe section, okay? Now what I want to do is I want to start to separate the top to the back and sides. I really want to start seeing the face shape and also the previous cut and also how it's grown out. Now, as you can see, George has got curly hair and I'm doing this wet. Now, with this kind of curl, I always find it is a curl, don't get me wrong, right? But I find it, if this was cut short, like George even said, he didn't know he had curly hair. I think that's more of a wave. So I find doing this hair a lot easier, cutting it wet. I don't think I'm going to, because I'm not trying to take loads of length off, I'm just trying to create a little bit of a different shape. I don't need to worry about it being too dry. I know the bottom is very curly, but I just find this type of texture hair, I just find it a bit easier doing it when it's wet. Just because the hair gets old, right? When you think about how old George's hair is, this was, say, that long on top before he grew it out. And it was number 4, so it was already just over 1 centimetre in length. Now you've got to think, the ends of the hair, especially some of George's hair, the ends will be over a year old. So that's a long time. It's an awful lot, of pollution, smoke, you name it, whatever George has come in contact with, your hair absorbs. So say he hangs around with some guys who smoke, you'll get it collected in the hair. So the ends, they get drier and drier and drier and drier. And if you don't look after them, then they will just end up becoming really, really brittle. They'll end up snapping off and you'll end up having to start from scratch or taking it back quite a few months. Because you can't, when the hair gets that dry, even when you run your hands through it, it starts to snap. So you need to keep the hair nice and healthy. by looking after it. So whatever you're doing, George, it seems to be working good, mate. So it's in good nick. A few dry ends, but nothing that unusual, you know. I'm going to take fairly wide sections because you don't want to take much length off here. We just want to balance it all out, remember? From the temple to the top of the ear, okay? Just as a reference. Now I'm going to take some length off. Now this is going to help to thin out the back and sides by taking some length a bit shorter, and also help balance, as you can see, some short bits and some long bits there as well. So let's take this in there like that. So we'll take that much off just to try and give it some balance. The wide section again. We switch from the middle of the ear to past the ear now. And then we find our guide. There's our guide. Don't worry how much length's coming off. We're following our guide, remember? It's the length we picked. We know it's going to work. We've just seen it fall from the sides. We know this is going to work, and this is going to balance short sections that have been taken on the friend cut. They start to create a lot more curl through this hair. So that'll start to set more balance now. We don't have a section behind to use as a guide now because we're at the back of the ear. Nice and straight. But no, it's what it is. It's just when you see that over direction coming in, with you keeping a lot of the length either side, or all the length in some cases, and taking that a little bit shorter, the length stays the same because you're pulling it straight down. You're not taking off the length at the bottom. So you're just balancing everything out, and everything becomes straight. To the top becomes shorter, or it becomes the same length as the bottom, which makes it look longer because the bottom's still got length in it, but everywhere else is a bit shorter. So it's just an illusion, you know. There's my guide. There we go. Pull it out. Here's my guide. Nice and straight. Here's my guide. Out. Over my guide. There we go. So not a lot coming off this bit. So we see our guide. There's our guide. There we go. So this side was shorter than the other side. As you can see, it's quite damaged at the ends as well. Have you put any heat on this, or if you?
No, I never hair dry.
You always air dry?
No, I never hair.
There we go, so where's the guide? There we go. So remember, don't forget, even if you're not taking a lot off one side, it doesn't mean we're doing it wrong, we're following our guide. That is the main thing. So that is exactly the same as that side. See with my fingers? Exactly the same. So that's going to fall exactly the same way. Now I'm just going to bring this forward a second, just over your eyes a minute like that. All right. Now head down for me a sec. Now what I want to do is I'm going to work from the side and just want to tidy up the perimeter. Okay. Now we want to maintain a lot of the length on the sides, but you still want to maintain length because the sides are always the longest thing to grow. Bring it down and match up what looks the level. Okay. Wherever the shortest point is, match up. So just right there. Nice and straight. We are not point cutting into this haircut at all. There we go, cut them bits off. So we're working with the shortest point on the sides. That way it's all going to be even, symmetrical. Bring this right down. Let's leave some of that length sitting through here behind the ear. And let's cut some length off as well. So there we go, remember that little guideline we've seen before? I'm working to that point. Now I'm bringing this straight down. I don't want to create this kind of layered effect where it comes round. I want it to still stay quite solid behind the ear, because generally around here, it's quite hard to grow thick and keep that kind of leanness behind the ear. So I want to try and keep all that through the back. Here we go, the guide I've just cut. Bring it down. There we go, there's my guide. Length off. There we go, now that's all going to start balancing now. You see, got the shorter layers that we've cut in, but it doesn't look like it's sort of off in length. It looks more balanced now. We've cut the top, we've got the neckline up a little bit. Putting it to match. Look, not a lot comes off this bit now. The shortest length, which is there. So again, not an awful lot, just enough to make sure it balances. There we go. That will go a lot curly when it's dry, all right? It's just you still got a lot of weight in the hair, all right? Which, to be honest, I think you best keep them. I think if you thin this out too much, it'll go really frayed, especially just from the last haircut, you know? I'd keep a bit of weight in there. So I want to create a bit more of a shape to this now. So you see the way that's starting to fall? It looks, even just like that, it looks much better, right? I think you should wear it off your face. I think it looks nice. If we can cut it in a way that you can style it this way as well, I think it'll be ideal, you know? I think it'll be really nice. I'm going to take a section down the middle, okay? Or just off center, in fact, just off center. I don't want to encourage the center part. I just remember then at the start, it was quite solid in the sort of off center. So I don't want to encourage the center part, okay? So what I'm going to do, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take some vertical sections through the sides. Make sure I'm bringing that fringe back. Always bring it back past the recession point, okay? It's always nice to keep that fringe full. Pull it out, and then use your guide from underneath. There we go. So what you're doing is you're cutting the layer at the top shorter, so as that dries, it'll create more of a softer, more rounder finish, okay? There we go. Got my guide from underneath and my guide from behind. Nice and straight. I'm not angling it, keeping it nice and straight for now. There we go. And the reason I'm dropping this down to the back is obviously we don't need to worry about the crown because we're keeping our hair long, and we're keeping the weight in there. But I want to still create the same look from every angle. So I'm working it down to the back that when we do the other side, we match up in the middle, we've got the same finish each way round. We look at George's head. Pulling this in like so. Guide, guide. There we go, just a little bit. Right, mirror this, so repeat this side now, off center. Always want to keep some bulk and length in there. Pull it out. There's my guide, there and there, that's what I'm looking for. There we go, pull it out. There's our guide. Straight out. There's my guide from the bottom. There's guide from what we just cut. Pull this out, nice and straight. Guide again, look, so staying with our consistency, get that nice and straight. There we go. There we go, straight out. Not much to come off. There we go. So can you see that? It's still becoming quite square, but when we dry that, that's got a very softer finish to it. It's not completely square because of the wide sections we've been taking. We've left a lot of the natural length still in there, but that'll become a lot rounder. Now, through the top. Right up, and we'll use the guides from either side. Naturally, it's going to make the middle shorter. Another section, just working our way back, using the guide from in front. There we go. Let's find that guide, there we go. See, a lot more's coming off through this back bit now. But again, I'm not concerned because I'm using the same guide. Don't have to worry. There we go, wow, look at that length. We're gonna have, here's our nice guide. There we go. And there we go, look, we match perfectly. Like so. Right, that's all we need to do. I don't want to do anything else. I think the hair's got that kind of still dryness to it that I don't want to start running a razor through it. I just want to style it for me. Again, this is all about primary shape when you're doing curly hair or wavy hair. Secondary shape comes with the section and pattern that we've just created, all right? So I'm going to pop in a little bit of Baxter California grooming cream, okay? This has got a very light hold, but we're looking for more of a natural finish. We're looking for something that's going to give it like a healthy finish, all right? And all the ingredients in this are very good for you. You've got botanical extracts, vitamin B and E, aloe vera, things like that. So it's all very good for the hair. Now, I apply this when it's towel dried, okay? What you do, put it into the hair like this. So you're kind of basically massaging it in, okay? Not being very vigorous, not rubbing it too much, not scrunching it too much, and just literally just patting it in, basically. Okay, so I'm just working with George's natural off-center part, and that seems to be where it wants to fall. He's got a wicked double crown at the back of his head there. So thankfully we're not going short because that looks like it'd be a very intriguing crown to cut. Did you ever have problems with it when you were a kid? Did you ever, if it's standing up? Yeah. It's all right for this length though. It doesn't matter for this length. But you've got that's why your natural parting sits so zigzaggy, because your crown's just meeting in the middle. I think that's, go with it. Don't fight it. It styles it for you. Okay. There we go. A little bit of that cream in there. Now, diffuser on. Hairdryer, high heat, but like a sort of medium speed, okay? Speed on first, then the heat, okay? Now, I want you just to lean your head into the diffuser for me. I'm just going to drop your hair in, okay? I'm just going to dry it with a lot more curl, a lot more bounce. You're drying it upwards, okay? You're drying the hair upwards. But as the curl falls, it creates a lovely loose finish. So just look at that. Just off one side of it. Creates a lovely loose curl, okay? You can dry it as well. You can scrunch dry it if you want to as well, like this. Or you can run your fingers through it to break out that curl, whatever you fancy doing, to dry it off a little bit for you, like so. Just lean your back. Now if you lean your head back for me, George, right back for me, and drop that hair in. And again this side. Just going to finish off with a little bit more grooming cream. So we dried a bit in. That's protected the drying process. It's stopped the heat from the hair from burning. And now, I'm going to rub a little bit in and just scrunch it in again. Now that's going to give you that natural shine. As you can see, you've got a much rounder finish than it looking really wild. It still looks wild, but it looks nice and kind of cut into this texture now more than it looking like it did when you came in. There we go. So for it to look like that, it really didn't take much effort at all, you know. Bit of diffuser, bit of grooming cream, back to California, and that was kind of it. So again, not an awful lot, but just enough to create a much nicer shape for you. Happy with that, mate?
Yeah.
Cool. Do you have to fear that? I think a lot of guys do have when they got long curly hair. Do you have to fear that you're gonna you see loads of length coming off and you think, oh God, I'm gonna walk out with such short hair? But the reality is, just even taking a lot of length off in the right places, still maintains a lovely shape, and then you're left with that type of curl, not that kind of drying, spread out curl that you came in with. You know what I mean? Look at that. Looks amazing, and that's got no added texture. That is literally just section and pattern. And look at the shape we've created. Look at that movement. Curl creates its own texture. One day it might be wild. One day it might be really soft and fall a bit heavier. It just all depends on the day, the humidity. But that's the beauty of curls, they keep you guessing, mate. So that's what I like about curls, but that looks amazing. I love that, man. Happy, yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much, man.